Are you a new YouTuber or do you have a new YouTube channel? And if so, do you feel the need to constantly compare your channel and your analytics to other new channels that are out there? Does it help you feel better or does it make you feel worse? That is the topic of this week's poetry reading. Hello, my name is K.A Bloch, and I am a poet and the award winning author of 4 books that consist of poetry and prose. I also have a website at thepracticalpoet.com. And in each of my 4 books, I do a little storytelling before I get into the poetry reading. So I tell a little bit about the origins of the poem, my motivation, my inspiration for writing it, or sometimes just my random thoughts. And I follow that same format here on this channel. So I will get into the poetry reading of this week's featured poem in just a few minutes. But before then, I'll do a little bit of storytelling and kind of talk about the poem, my feelings about the poem, and then get into the reading itself. If you don't want to stick around for the poetry reading, you can find a printed copy or a hard copy on my blog, again at thepracticalpoet.com/blog. And there you can also read about the backstory of this week's poem. So again, talking about comparison, like I mentioned in the opening, comparison as once spoken by Franklin Roosevelt. Wait, was that who said it? Or was it Dwight Eisenhower? Hang on a minute. I need to do a quick check on that because I do have it in my book here. And I have it listed as Theodore Roosevelt actually was the one that said it. My bad. I'm so sorry. I apologize to all the history buffs out there who are probably going crazy on that. It was actually Theodore Roosevelt that said at one point, comparison is the thief of joy. And that is what is the name of this week's featured poem. It's called The Thief, and it has to do with comparison. This poem is from my 3rd book called Gather Seeds of Hope. The glare might be a little bit on here, but Gather Seeds of Hope, my name down here at the bottom, K.A Bloch. And again, the featured poem is called The Thief. And it has to do with how we compare ourselves in our lives to other people. So when I was first getting up the courage to start my YouTube channel, I was watching a lot of other videos from other people. And there was one woman, and I can't remember her name. And if I can find the video, I will link it in the description. But she said there's typically 2 things that hold people back from starting a YouTube channel. The first one is fear, and the second one is comparison. Well, the fear, you can kind of get over that, right? You can kind of embrace the fear. I have done that here by putting my face out there, my poems, my voice, everything out on video, and it didn't come easy. It took a lot of time and a lot of self motivating talks and stuff like that before I finally got up the courage to put myself out here. And I'm still nervous, and I'm still, afraid of people watching my videos, making fun of me, etc. But I mean, fear is can be tackled. Fear can be, we can face our fear, and we can do it anyway. I used to listen to a podcast called "Do It Scared," and gave me the courage to embrace that fear and just get out there and do things. So I feel like I'm tackling that. But comparison is a different story. Comparison can get into our head a little bit, especially if we start looking at other channels. How many videos do they have, or how many watchers do they have, how many subscribers, how come this video was just posted 6 hours ago and there's already 2,000 watches, but mine was posted 6 days ago and I don't have any views. All of those things can get inside our head. But does it help us? Does it motivate us to spur us on and keep going? In my case, not so much. I see those other channels out there that are just crushing it, and hey, good for them. That's awesome. My little channel is just chugging along, and that's fine too. I'm not doing it for the big monetary gains that maybe some people are doing it for. I mean, that would be nice. I'm not going to lie. Who wouldn't want to make money with their craft? But for me, it's more about like a creative outlet, getting my poems out there into the world, making the people aware of my books and my work, and that's what I do it for. So they say do what you love and the money will follow. Maybe not. So at some point maybe I will get monetized, maybe I won't. What is more important for me though is to get the number of views up, and I'd like my channel and my blog and stuff to be more well known, and maybe that will happen. That wouldn't happen if I was too afraid to put my work out there. So I had to get over that fear. But the comparison is a little bit harder to deal with. That kind of gets into my head a little bit more. So for that one, I really have to kind of ask myself, why am I comparing myself to other channels so much. But not only that, why am I letting it steal my joy? I enjoy this process of filming the videos and talking about my work and reading my poetry to the world, even if nobody is listening. I enjoy it and I have a good time doing it. And I hope that comes through. So the comparison is really kind of a moot point. It doesn't help me feel any better. It just kind of makes me scratch my head sometimes and say, why am I doing this? And then I have to circle back to the reasons why I'm doing it. So it does steal my joy. And I'm trying to not let it steal my joy. I'm trying to just carry on with my work and put my work out there into the world the best I can. And what will happen, right? Either it'll take off or it won't, and that's okay too. It's a creative outlet for me. It's something that I enjoy doing, and I just have to keep plugging along and just hopefully get that comparing, that's the word, comparing, out of my brain. So with that, again, going back to this week's featured poem, going back to that quote by Theodore Roosevelt about comparison being the thief of joy, that is so true, not just in YouTube world, but just in the general life. As we go through our days, we can be feeling really good or really excited about something going on in our life. Maybe we got a new car and we're excited to show it off until we see the neighbor pull up in their, really, really nice car. That kind of puts us, to shame a little bit, if you will. Or maybe we are excited about going on a vacation. Maybe we haven't been on a vacation in years and years, and maybe we're just going up to, those Wisconsin Dells or something local. But we hear about our neighbor or our friends that are going, to Bora Bora or what have you. And suddenly we're like, oh, I don't want to say that I'm just going to Wisconsin Dells, even though I'm really excited about it. It is a getaway nonetheless, right? But not on a grand scale. And so we start to maybe feel less than. We start to maybe feel like our life is lacking in some areas, or that we have to keep up with the Joneses in order to be a worthy person inside. And we shouldn't let that be. We are who we are. Our life is great and good, hopefully. And it doesn't necessarily matter. We don't know the struggles that our neighbor is going through. Sure, maybe they have that beautiful new car, but maybe they took out a third mortgage to get that car or to pay for that Bora Bora vacation. We don't know. And it's not up to us to know. It's not our business. All we can do is worry about ourselves and our own, what we have. We can't go around worrying about what everybody else has, but we do kind of let it steal our joy. I have just a small condo, and I know when I go to my friend's house and they have these big, beautiful homes with huge kitchens and everything is up to date and remodeled. And, I come home and I look at my kitchen, my cabinets need to be redone. My countertops are just basic white, and I start to think, gosh, why am I working so hard? I should be upgrading everything to look like so-and-so's home. And we shouldn't do that. We should just be grateful and be happy for what we have. And that was one of the themes that came out through this poem that you're going to hear shortly, is to be grateful. Because there's always going to be somebody out there that has more than we do. That's just a fact of life. There's always people that have more than we do. But there's also people that have less. And those people that have less than we do, they may be looking at our lives and they may be looking at what we have, and they may be somewhat envious of what we have. We may be able to take a small vacation. They may not be able to put food on the table or afford medication for their sick kids or something like that. So they may be looking at us like, hey, you have such a great life. And then we're looking at somebody else saying, hey, they have such a great life. Why don't I have that life? But, the life that we have is the life that somebody that, doesn't have what we have aspires to have. So we need to be more grateful for the things that we do have. And going into the new year, I really hope to practice gratitude a little bit more and really be grateful for what I have, and try not to compare myself or my house or whatever I have to anybody else, because it's mine and I love it and I'm proud of it. And even in this channel, it's mine and I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of my videos. And they're not perfect. I know that. I understand that. But they're mine. And I'm going to stop or try to reel in that comparing. And I hope you do the same. If you're a new YouTuber and you were led to this video and you're letting the comparison get into your head, I really hope that that you kind of put that to the side and just focus on your own goals and your own motivation and your own growth, and not worry about so much about what everybody else has. I say that as a lesson for myself as well. So one of the things too that I pointed out in the book, in the little prose that I talk about, and also available on my blog, is, there's a lot of things on social media that we compare ourselves to. I see a lot of people posting, but their great vacations and all that stuff on social media. And I kind of feel like social media might be a bit of a highlight reel where people are just posting the great and wonderful things that they want the world to see, and maybe not so much, the things that they want to keep hidden. I have another video called Cracks in the Foundation that talks about those things that people keep hidden from the world. And they put out the image that everything is great and perfect, and it may not be. And so I talk a little bit about that, how we look on social media and we tend to compare, our lives or our posts and stuff to, what everybody else is posting. And how is it that, the number of likes that somebody gives us, or the number of thumbs up that we get, or the number of viewers on our channel, has become to the point where it defines our self-worth, right? If I post something and nobody likes my post, does that impact my psyche and my self-worth? Yeah, it kind of does, actually. It kind of gets into my head a little bit, along with those, lack of YouTube viewers or what have you. We can't help it. We're only human, and things impact us in different ways. And so when I find myself kind of going into that vulnerable place where I'm feeling a little bit down or a little bit dejected, whether my social media is not getting the attention that I feel like I would like it to have, or I'm feeling like maybe my home needs a little bit more attention, or I want that big beautiful home that my friends have or something, I have to take a step away. And I have to just kind of distance myself from the social media, just take a break from it. In this same book, Gather Seeds of Hope, there's a poem called The Evening News. And it talks about, how politics and how the news of the world, the crime and all of the, the wars and stuff like that, can really get into our heads. And we have to take a break from that kind of stuff. And it's kind of the same thing with social media, right? And I laugh about, it's called social media, but there are times when it makes me feel very unsocial. And so sometimes we just need to distance ourselves. And, on the TV as well, there's, all of those beautiful reality shows, the Housewives, etc., with those beautiful people. But if you really break down their lives are not all that perfect, right? They portray them to be rich and famous and have these great glamorous lives, and they travel. But really, a lot of them have really bad marriages. Their marriages are in shambles. They're either separated or divorced, or, there's things going on in the home that that we maybe wouldn't want in our lives. So when I watch those shows, a lot of times I think, boy, I'm comparing myself, but in an opposite way. Instead of being envious of what they have, i'm I'm not gonna say pitying, but I'm like, I'm glad that my life is not in the shambles that theirs are in. So I mentioned in the book, comparison may be the thief of joy, but sometimes it's the giver of contentment, right? Sometimes we look at what others have and we think, thank gosh that that's not my life. I'm grateful that that is not what I have. So without further ado, I want to get into the reading of this poem. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick sip of tea here, soothe my throat. I'm going to go ahead and put my glasses on here. And then I'm going to go ahead and get into the reading of this poem. Again, it's called The Thief. And if you don't want to stick around for the full poetry reading, you can find a copy of this on my blog at thepracticalpoet.com/blog. And it is called The Thief. And then you can read a little bit of the backstory, a little bit of my YouTube journey as well, and then get into the reading of the poem. So with that, here is the poetry reading of The Thief. Comparison is the thief of joy. At least that's what they say. How often do we compare ourselves to others who come our way? Does this hold any value, or does it plant a seed? Do we suddenly aspire to obtain something we don't need? All these pictures on social media, it is a highlight reel. When I spend too much time scrolling, I don't like how I feel. There's nothing wrong with my life, and I really feel quite blessed. But when I see what others have, my thoughts become obsessed. Do the neighbors have a new car? Mine has wear and tear. Theirs is always washed and waxed. How can I not compare? Do I need a new TV? Mine is just so small and has a big tube on the back. Theirs hangs up on the wall. Do I need new kitchen countertops or new appliances? Well, having all the latest trends, help form alliances? Where will I get the money? There's some room on the card. I'll pay it off in increments. It doesn't sound that hard. Does my neighbor have brand new clothes or a new designer purse? When I see her looking stylish, it just makes me feel worse. As I look down at my faded jeans and baggy, heavy sweater, I wonder if I had her look, would my life be any better? She's the hostess with the mostest, and yet she's still so nice. I serve cheese and crackers and hope that will suffice. She thinks of every detail, right down to the last minute. Perhaps my life would be better if folks like her weren't in it. But then I think it's not her fault, and it really isn't fair to place my own self doubts on her when I start to compare. So, comparison really is a thief. I've let it steal my joy. My life was going along just fine until I let envy destroy. Comparison really is a thief. It messes with my head. I need to turn my focus to the good things instead. So maybe I will step away from things that cause concern. Being satisfied with what I have is a great lesson to learn. There is nothing wrong with my life, and I really am quite blessed. I have all I want and more, so I'll give comparison a rest. So that was the poetry reading of The Thief from Gather Seeds of Hope. And one of the things too in here that the poem reminded me of was I talk about in the poem how I don't know how we think that we want the things that our neighbors have, but maybe we don't have that kind of money. And it mentions in here about, well, there's room on the card. I'll just pay it off in increments. And so sometimes we feel like we need to go out and we need to buy things that we really can't afford. I did that several years ago. I bought a Louis Vuitton bag just because everybody had one and I felt like I needed one. It was almost a mortgage payment, to be honest. And I didn't carry it around very often. It kind of wasn't my style. But I could say I had a Louis Vuitton bag, maybe I couldn't pay the mortgage that month, but I had a nice handbag on my shoulders. So, we do foolish things like that. We compromise our own self and our own needs, so that we can have what we think that the neighbors feel like we should have, or what we feel would make us a more worthy person in society's eyes. And we really can't afford to do that, maybe both financially and just emotionally. We can't afford to let those things get into our heads. So again, the lesson here: gratitude, being grateful for what we have, not letting comparison steal our joy. Let gratitude add to our joy. Let gratitude, make us feel happy and worthy. And once you start being grateful for what you have, no matter how small it is, that radiates to everybody else. That kind of just gets out into the universe, and people see how happy and grateful you are. And maybe that could spread instead of the negativity that comes along with comparison. So I hope that was one of the messages that came through in this poem. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and leave you. I really hope that you enjoyed this week's poetry reading of The Thief. And again, if you have that YouTube channel and you're newer at creating content, please don't look at other people's analytics. Just focus on your own channel. Focus on the reasons why you are doing it, what you hope to gain from it. And if that's to become monetized, then I hope you find the means to make that happen. If it's just a creative outlet for you, like it is for me, I don't mean just, if it is a creative outlet for you, though, focus on that and let that be your joy. And don't let comparison or comparing yourself to any other channels steal that joy away from you. So with that, I'm wishing you a happy and gratitude-filled 2025. And if you want to be notified of my weekly poetry readings, please click the like and subscribe button so you will get that notification when I do a new featured poem from one of my 4 books, or even maybe some new material coming in 2025 as well. So I hope to speak with you real soon, and have a great rest of the week. Bye.